So look, for those tuning in, my name's Kosta. These are my two partners and best friends, Johny and Charlie. And we're basically going to get together every week to discuss topics that we're thinking about, going through, hearing from our clients and customers, and just try and provide as much real time value and insights to contractors. So, with that being said, let's jump into it. Johny, I want to start with you. You had a rant on Monday about accountants. And this is something, we've been talking about internally for quite some time, amongst ourselves and with our clients. And for me, this is something I noticed almost immediately in the construction industry. And I say this with all due respect to accountants. Like, you're speaking to like an accountant, really. I have my degree here. I went to school for accounting, so this is my background. But I find it so strange at how much influence contractors give to their accountants in their day-to-day business. Like, I can't tell you, and I know you can relate, but how many times I speak to contractors and I hear things like, oh, I can't do invoicing like that because my accountant doesn't like it, or oh, my quotes have to be sent like this, or oh, I have to use this program or can't use this program. And this is not like a one-off situation. I'm talking dozens and dozens of conversations like this that I've had. So, and I've been involved in many industries, and this is the first and only industry where I've noticed how influential accountants are in the day-to-day, which I find quite mind-boggling, to be honest. So, what do you think? What's going on here with these accountants?
Yeah, I'm just as puzzled as you are. You know, I'm an accountant myself, and me and my accountant, we have a great relationship. We do butt heads a lot of times, just because they're always going to give you a perspective from an accounting point of view. But then a lot of times, when I push back on my accountant and I explain, something in the construction industry and why we have to do it a certain way, he gets it, right? And then his mind has to start turning to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so then, this goes in this category or this goes in that category. I just, like you touch base on, I'm just taken back by how many people think that, whatever their accountant says goes, right? Your accountant is there to put things in the right category, file the taxes, give you a heads up on, whether you're gonna have like a significant loss, what to prepare for taxes, to let your tax submittals. But above and beyond that, yeah, like we talk to a lot of these guys every day, Costa and Charlie, and I can't put my finger on it. I don't know why these guys believe that, whatever their accountant says goes, right? Like it's mind-boggling to me because, like I said, like even with my accountant has some very big, clients, and that's what the healthy relationship is, right? The healthy relationship between, a business owner and their accountant is, the business owner is telling their accountant what they need done. And it's up to the accountant, to guide themselves through on, how you're going to write that off, right? What impact does that have to your business? I go to my accountant truthfully more on, am I better leasing this or am I better financing this? Those are the
Yeah,
questions I give my
yeah,
accountant, right? From an accountant perspective, am I better leasing this or am I better financing this, right? Um, that rant that
exactly.
I
Yeah.
that I gave on Monday, was, it was like probably like the 20th time I heard it, where, I'm talking to a user and the user's telling me that, their accountant wants them to stick to a certain program because it makes their lives easier. And how many, you get to a point sometimes where it's just like, guys, like your accountant wants to save a few hours at the end of the year. And even though you're saving, the same amount of time every week, you're going to give that up just because your accountant, makes your accountant's life easier. To me, it's just mind boggling, right? And like I said, an accountant's an employee to you, right? You're not going to let your employee tell you, what time he wants to come to work, right? What truck he wants to drive, what job he wants to be on, right? It's your job as the business owner to tell them, no, you need to go here at this time. This is what I need done. And it's no different with an account.
Yeah, I'm with you. You know, it comes to the point. A lot of these conversations, like, hold on, is your accountant like a partner in your business? Are they like, you know, full-time employee? Like, you know, what's going on here? But to break that down, right? What do you think it is? Is it like, you know, contractors in general? Are they intimidated by that side of the business? Is it like a lack of education on that side of things? Charlie, what do you think? What could it be?
Honestly, what I really think it is, and to answer your question, I think it comes down to the fact that accountants have always been in the driver's seat for as long as I can remember when it came to the financials of any kind of construction company. We're so consumed with landing more work, getting the job done, getting paid on time, hiring, firing, everything that's involved in managing a construction business. We've always kind of handed all the financials off to the accountant in hopes that we can trust them and it's in good hands. And I think that that pendulum has now swung way too far to that side where they're just so used to having the control and being in the driver's seat. It's almost they have that power and now they act as if like, you know, everything that I need, you're going to give to me. Forgetting that essentially they're our employee. We hire them, we pay them. So looking at it from one side, I think it's very crucial to have a very good accountant who you can trust in managing all your financials. But I think there has to be a medium ground where we can meet, where we can say, look, you're the expert, but also this is how I need you to do things because this is how I work on a day-to-day basis. And there's got to be that common ground.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Accountants are, and it doesn't. I hope it doesn't sound like we're like discrediting accountants. Or obviously, every business in the world needs an accountant. Not only an accountant, but a good accountant. But yeah, again, I just think this is a very interesting observation in this industry of how influential accountants are in an everyday business of contractors. So.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, I just think that for the most part, it's just an experience, right? People start a business, they get an accountant, even to switch accountants, right? Like people don't want to do it, right? And a lot of times, you know, you hear stories when they switch accountants, you know, the other accountant finds things, you know, just like anybody else, right? It's somebody's profession. Everybody does it, you know, a different way. And I don't want to knock accountants because, you know, to have a good accountant is very key. It's very crucial, right? To any business, doesn't matter what business you're in. Um, but you know, that rant on Monday was strictly about, you know, not letting your accountant basically put his needs above yours. That's the rant that I wanted to get at, right? Like Charlie said, you have to have a common ground, right? But in the end of it, that rant was strictly about, you know, an accountant basically telling, you know, their clients, you know, I don't care how much time, you know, using this program or that program saves you, right? It's about my time, right? And that's where, you know, I have a problem with that, right? You know, even as a contractor myself, that's like saying, you know, the GC, the general contractor, or the client, you know, is telling us that their time is more valuable than ours, right? You know, it's a crazy statement sometimes that, you know, I've heard from other people's accountants. And again, I'm not knocking accountants because I love my accountant. And, you know, again, every business needs a good accountant. But in the end of it, you know, it's like a partnership, right? I'm hiring you for this job, do a good job. This is what I need. Can you do it? You know what I mean? And if any accountant pushes back on that, uh, like I said in my rant, right? It's, you know, it's probably time to explore other accountants.
Yeah. Well, look, shout out to all the accountants out there. Um,
Yeah.
Switching gears a little bit, I want to hear from both of you the different perspectives. You guys deal with different side of the your construction contracting business. So, you know, we're mid-November right now, going into holiday season. What are you guys focusing on, Johnny? I'll kick it off with you. But what are you focusing on your side to like wrap up the year? Is there anything? Do priorities change this time of the year? Or
Um, I wouldn't say priorities change. I would just say, obviously with the holiday season coming, this time of year gets crazy. It gets very compressed because, with the holiday season coming, Christmas parties, client meetings, gifts, um, and overall, I want to say like schedule, right? Because everybody is trying to wrap things up on all these, small, big projects. They're trying to wrap it up before the holiday season starts. So at this point, I think it does become hectic because a lot of timelines they get like accelerated, right? Because everybody wants to try to wrap things up before the holidays. So that's kind of like the biggest shift I see happening. Also, at the same time, a lot of people are preparing for tax season. But me personally, if I can give anybody a word of advice, anybody listening, is just because it's November, it's December, right? You can't look at it like the end of the year. You got to start looking at, what does 2025 look like, right? What does the beginning of the year look like? What does January, February, March look like, right? You got to keep looking at, the horizon, no matter what time of the year it is. You got to keep, doing what you do every day. You got to keep grinding. Think of it like August, right? What are you doing in September, October, November? You got to start looking at it the same way, right?
yeah, for sure. And Charlie, with you, like dealing with more on site and managing the crews, like what are you seeing? Are you focusing on things differently this time of the year, wrapping things up? How does it look?
Yeah, I think Johnny touched on a few things from my end. Like for those who don't know me and Johnny personally or just getting to know us, we do deal with two very different parts of the company, which is something we've done pretty close at the beginning, 15 years ago, where Johnny is mostly dealing with the in-house office stuff, and I'm kind of like you mentioned on dealing with the guys on site and the jobs. Johnny did touch briefly on it of, we have a lot of clients and the large majority of them are very demanding. Not in a bad way, it's just pretty much standard in construction. And a lot of them need to hit certain deadlines and targets. It always seems to land by Christmas, right? So a lot of these are unrealistic expectations. And most of the time on even unrealistic expectations, we still deliver because we're expected to deliver on these things. Sometimes we don't, but again, like that's where the pressure cooker really we're thrown into it because everybody needs their job done at the same time. So on my side, managing guys, it's really strategy, knowing where to put guys to utilize their skills. Where can I put my best roughing guys on the roughing projects to make sure it moves along quickly. The finishing jobs, make sure I got my cleanest workers doing those jobs so we're not getting calls over the Christmas break because of leaks or little drips, this and that. So a lot of strategy for organization and planning on that end. And then, that's just wrapping up the jobs. But I think, one of the most important ones is, like Johnny says, is leading up to this point is securing work for the new year, right? It's all great. We want to wrap up the year with a nice big bow on it. But come January, February, if you don't have any more work, it's a big mess to start the year, right? You have to finish strong, and I always say we have to start the year off very strong as well, if not stronger.
Yeah. Do you think most companies kind of ramp up at this time of the year or start to slow down and kind of take it easy?
I feel like December, because also too there's a lot of Christmas parties going on. We go for lunches with our clients. We have our own Christmas party for our guys, and then like I mentioned, all the jobs that are ongoing. That it's really crunch time. I think it really ramps up end of November, all through December up until Christmas time. And then, you're gonna have that slow period, which is kind of natural coming back. Guys are, fresh off the holidays, partying for the New Year. So kind of up until mid to end of January, it kind of takes a little bit of time to get back into rhythm. And then you kind of start ramping up pretty much, I would say at a medium pace near the beginning of the year. And then again, depending on the company too, right? How busy you are, it's ups and downs. But I definitely say December is a very busy month and a crucial month.
Hmm. And you both kind of touched on it, and from my lens here, a lot of the contractors I've been speaking to, um, I think you guys are an anomaly, and we'll get to that. But I speak to a lot of guys who are starting to slow down. They kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit, and for me, it's like man, like fuck slowing down. While others are like kind of slowing down, sleeping. Like now's the time to double down. Like what are you doing for marketing for next year? Your sales, your planning. Like are your internal systems tighten things up? Like I feel like this is such a good opportunity to um, not slow down, but like ramp up on that side of the business, which I feel like gets neglected a lot of the times. Everyone's focused on the actual job itself and, working on the actual job, but neglect the business side of things. And for me, I just think this is a critical time to focus on that part. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Johnny, what do you think about that?
Yeah, yeah. There's two parts to answer that question. So number one, it all depends on the industry as well, right? Obviously here in Canada, we deal with the winter, right? So a lot of these landscapers, pavers, irrigation guys, a lot of them that basically the weather affects their work. I notice they start to slow down now because, they take like kind of like the winters off, right? So that's where I notice, you know, a lot of guys are looking forward to this break, right? Because they've been going rampant. They have on and off seasons, and then like for the other trades that no matter rain, snow, or shine, all year round they're working. Um, Depending on the year they've had a hectic year. They need a little bit of a break. That happens all the time. But what I would say to that is when it's slower, right, or work's not as busy, I find a lot of guys like utilize that to kind of kick back, which look, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's all on, where you want to be, right? So if you got that downtime should be used to look at, okay, if I did 1 million last year or this year, how do I do 1.5 next year? Right? What's your game plan? How are you getting there? Right? And I noticed that one of the biggest things is just, one key element that a lot of people just don't talk about in construction enough, like other industries, is just efficiency, right? How do you tighten up on everything, right? How do you make your processes smoother, right? We talk about this a lot internally, but a lot of people, they get sucked in on working in the business that they own, right? And they never get a chance to sit back and work on the business, right? And I find that like a big problem. We all get sucked into that, right? And sometimes it takes a really slow period or a big loss or something like that to make people realize like fuck, I can't do that again, right? How do I make sure that doesn't happen again? And that's what I would recommend to everybody during this season. If you are kind of on slowing down, is look ahead, right? Look at how to grow. Look at everything that will benefit your business. Be self-critical. Look at the things you did well and the things you did wrong, right? And reflect, right? And next year come back better.
That's so important. That's what I was kind of getting at, and you kind of nailed it on the head. It's um, your actions your ambitions have to align with your actions, right? So like if you want to grow your revenue by like double next year, and yet that's what you keep talking about, but then your actions, you're starting work at noon, you're going for lunches and dinners every day. It's like your actions aren't aligned with your goals, and that kind of has to be recalibrated. And so, Charlie, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this?
You know, Kosta, me and you have had lots of conversations, long conversations about this. And if you're not moving, you're dying, right? Friday should be the saddest day of the week, and Monday's the happiest day. You're back to work. I honestly, I look at iPlum as a whole since we started 15 years ago, and we've always kind of gone up in growth every single year. And again, like that's not for everybody too, right? You can't take it away from a guy that's one guy in a truck and he's just content. Probably makes double what he would make working for a company, and low overhead, no stress, and he can manage it. That's fine. For us, we've never been that way, right? We would never turn down work if it meant more stress and hiring more guys. We've never shied away from that. We've always welcomed it, and over the years, we've grown to a company with over 25 employees, right? So I think it depends on the type of people you are, like you said. It's very nice to dream about things that you want, but if you're, like you said, you're sleeping in every day, or you're just going out to expensive lunches and playing golf, and not necessarily with clients that are going to help you grow your company just for leisure, you're not going to get there, right? So I mean, hard work and dedication is definitely the key, and putting your head down and just going after it, if that's who you truly are.
Yeah. And like you said, there's nothing wrong with, you want to be one guy in a truck and make a couple $100,000 a year. Beautiful, right? If that's what your intentions are, be the best at that. But if you want to,
but I do have a challenge. I do have a challenge for those guys. If that's who you want to be, right, and you're not looking to grow your revenue, right, then and keep your revenue the same. Here's my challenge for those guys. How can you make more with the same revenue that you did? Right? And this is where, again, the self-reflection, right? Like being self-critical, right? What are the things you let slip through the cracks, right? What are the things that, and I understand it's, okay, that costs an extra 5,000, whatever, I had it in the budget, right? But okay, well, bring that down, right? Because, if you did 300,000 this year, one guy in a truck, and your overhead was only, let's just say with materials and everything, 100 grand, you had a 200,000 profit, right? And if you're content with that type of work, how can you bring that profit margin up, right? And this is where I get back to working on the business instead of working in the business.
That's a good challenge. I like that one. That's actually something. Go, Charlie.
Sorry, I was going to just jump in for a sec. To Johnny's point too, you look back at when we started iPlum to where we are today, 15 years later, and I mean, the efficiency is through the roof compared to how we used to be. I'm talking stacks of papers, not knowing how much we're spending on jobs, to now we can tell you where every single penny has gone, right? So like Johnny said, like a company that's one guy in a truck that's making $200,000 a year, he potentially could be making $280,000 a year if he tightens up on certain things, right? Now imagine a company that's got 50 or more employees. You're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions, right?
Yeah. And that's, so one thing I do, and I think this could apply to any business in the world really, is doing an audit of your expenses. I'd say every 3 to 6 months. And what you're going to find if you do that, I'm talking like every single line item of your expenses, every line of your credit card statement. When you do that every 6 months, I guarantee you're going to find savings of 4 figures per month easily. Because, you get caught up in the business, you start adding things and trying different things, and maybe you're using a software, you don't need a certain plan, you can downgrade it. Like there's so many savings you can find when you actually do that. But I just find a lot of people don't take the time to do that. I would highly recommend that 3 to 6 months, do a line by line expense audit, and you're gonna find savings guaranteed, more than you think.
Or a software that you're putting it in, it's kind of putting you in check on the spot, right? A lot of people don't notice it, right? They'll have a $20,000 job. They did the job. They knew they made money, but they can't tell you how much, right? So that's where, again, efficiencies really come into play, right? And what I would say, again, just like the last to touch on this lastly is just, even if you want to stay one guy in a truck, right? At one point or another, you are going to have if you're driven, you're going to have the opportunity to grow. Now, not everybody's going to jump for it because not everybody wants that, right? But if you put those procedures in place at the beginning, as you grow, the term growing pains, right? As you grow, the growing pain becomes much less, right? So if you have things in place, that helps keep track of everything, and doesn't require a lot of time, because a lot of guys, one guy in a truck, they're the salesman, they're the tradesmen, they're doing the work, they're finishing the work, they're invoicing, they're quoting, they're scheduling, these procedures are very important, right? I always say it. It's like, as a tradesman, you could be the best tradesman in the world, right? But if you have no time to work on the business, right, you can have a failing business. Not to say that you're not a good electrician or a plumber or HVAC or roofer. You could be the best, right? But if you don't have these tools to help organize you and help keep you on track, so that you can run a profitable and successful business, what are you doing? You see what I'm saying?
Sure,
like what are you doing? You're just running around the city like a madman.
Right? Yeah. And another thing too, like 15 years ago, just the word efficiency gave me a headache, right? Just hearing that word, I just thought we need to hire a full-time person just to be efficient, so they can go through the books, keep track of everything, and it just gave me a headache just the thought about it. Now, like, we're in 2025, right? There's tools that exist, right? Like, efficiency doesn't have to be difficult. There's plug-and-play softwares, right? And there's so many tools at your disposal where you can do it with your eyes closed.
So true. So true. And so this topic leads nicely into the last subject I wanted to actually talk about, which, again, talk about this amongst each other a lot behind the scenes, and it's about growth, right? What I mean by growth, like, internal growth, personal growth, improving yourself as a person, a business owner, entrepreneur, husband, father, whatever it is, right? And for you guys specifically, like, you two have experienced like the most amazing growth I've ever seen, right, in business. And it's very inspiring, starting from two guys in a truck. I remember, you guys parking your truck that you just got with your iPlum logo, parking in a plaza, just to be a billboard, hopefully get some calls, to today working on, some of the biggest projects in the province, managing, 30 guys. So, that's a lot of growth and evolution over the 15 years that you've been in business. So I'm curious to hear from both of you, and Charlie, kick it off. But how do you work on your own growth, both personally, on the business? Like, how do you think about this? Like, what are some practical things that you do?
Number one, I've been very fortunate to have two extremely important people in my life, my wife and Johny. I think as hard of a worker as you are in life, there is a bit of luck involved in being at the right place at the right time and meeting, the right people. Me and Johny were very fortunate to have met each other a long time ago when we were plumbing apprentices. I give Johny all the credit in the sense that he's one of the most driven people I've ever met. And he was really the one that kicked me in the ass to do this. I was a union plumber. I was making great money. Everybody thought I was out of my mind for starting this. So kudos to Johny. He's 3 years younger than me. I always looked at him as my little brother, but he's, wise beyond his years. With that being said, where the luck also came in is that we are also two very, very different people in how we look at things and how we manage the business, and we have two very different skill sets. Johny has always been the most personable guy, outgoing, life of the party, can befriend anybody. And we knew very early on that he didn't belong on the job site, right? He was a great plumber, not to take that away from him, but where he really shined is like just being in the office, involved in talking to the clients, building the relationships, and really kind of setting us up for the future, right? As where I've been working with tools since I was crawling. So for me, just on the technical side, I'm also very good with people, but more like, with the employees. I can really relate to them. I've worked my ass off my entire life, so I can really relate with the guys, and you really try to be a boss that doesn't put myself above anybody. I really treat our team as a team. We cannot run a business without them, and they don't have a job without us. And I've always looked at it like that and kept that level of respect. And so right off the bat, that's probably been our secret sauce to a successful partnership, I would have to say, right?
Nice. Yeah. Johny.
Yeah, I would say, everything that Charlie did mention there. And also, I think one of our biggest qualities is we're very self-critical, right? We have no problem, like, in order to make any partnership work, in order to make every business work, right? And what I mean by partnership, like this even goes down to marriage, friends, brothers, anything, right? Is just being able to dissect, what you did, how you did it, how you came about, whether you're dealing with a problem, how you deal with the problem. And when you can really let go of, trying to always be on the defense and, kind of, I want to say protect, your decision or, whatever path you did decide to take. It's knowing how to be self-critical so that, you can hear from somebody that, they always say, right? Like your best of friends, right? They're not going to tell you what you want to hear, right? They're going to tell you the truth, right? Those are the real people in your life, right? So you need to be able to dissect that, right? And evolve, right? So I want to say, the biggest thing that helped us grow is being self-critical, right? If Charlie made a mistake, even though he thought it was right, we would have a discussion and, doing this like this, okay, I understand that we got through it, but, this wasn't the right way because of A, B, and C. And, the receiver, right, should be able to take that, right, your partner, your wife, whoever it may be, and be like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, even though I did this and maybe I thought I had no choice right at the time, or I had to do this because of, whatever the case may be, it's being able to dissect that and really evolve from that, right? And I feel like no matter who it is, right, you can go down the line from, Bezos, Musk, any of the big guys, right? That's the only way you evolve, right? You evolve by being self-critical, right? Stop looking at what other people did wrong. Start looking at what you did wrong, right? Start looking at how to correct those actions, right? And what happens with that is I noticed that, especially in business, right? Like, let's focus on the business aspect right now. You'll notice that the growth evolves naturally, right? Because, you might have made a mistake there that you didn't think was a mistake, right? Somebody was able to point it out. You try a course of action to correct that so that when you're in that position the next time, you approach it in a different way and you have a different outcome, right? So I would say that to me is the biggest secret sauce, right? Is being self-critical. I will criticize myself. I will pick out my own flaws before anybody can, right? And I have no problems in doing that, right? Nobody's perfect. It's the same I tell all my clients. Why choose our plumbing company over anybody else, right? Everybody does plumbing, right? The one thing we will do is everybody makes mistakes. It's all on how you approach the mistake, right? It's all on how you rectify the problem, right? And I notice, with a lot of contractors, and listen, like even building my house, a few years ago, going down the list of my friends and, friends of friends, when there was an issue, everybody, like a lot of guys, they run away from it, right? And it's like, well, like if you run away from it, right? And I'm not trying to sit here and give you shit at the same time I am. It's just like, man, digest it, come back and fix it. Because if you're running away from the problem, guess what? I got my buddy who's building a house down the street. I got, Charlie was building a house, roughly at the same time I was. And now it's like, those are two referrals you would have got just like that. You know what I mean? Like no competition, no nothing. But because the way you dealt with the situation that was wrong, you've just lost the opportunity, right? So don't look at me like I'm the one who did it to you, right? It was the way you approached the situation when that relationship was a little bit rocky, right? So
Yeah.
so I just noticed to be able to be self-critical, right? And adjust your own actions is one of the biggest key to success, right? And growth, right? Natural
Yeah.
growth.
Yeah. I agree with both of you. I think you guys both hit it. The only thing I would add as well is I think a very important thing is to be able to put your ego aside, right? And we're human beings. I personally think every human being in the world has an ego. I think it's wired into us, but it's how you control that ego. And Johnny, like you said, right? Uh, a real friend is the one who tells you what you need to hear instead of what you want to hear. So the only thing I was at is having like two partners, two friends like you guys, and we do this to each other all the time, right? Not to put each other down, but we want us all to continue growing, getting better at everything. So if you're not getting criticism, feedback from your closest people, then that might be something to recalibrate on its own because that's part of it too.
Yeah, it's a key thing, right? You need to be able to evolve, right? You got to think about like a chameleon, right? Like you need to be able to evolve. You need to be able to change your colors. You need to be able to change the way you do things, the way you move, the way you operate. What happened there, right? Why did I not get the next job? You know what I mean? Well, maybe it was the way you handled something, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So last thing I want to touch on, you guys see the shirt here. Bitcoin, I think what are we at today? Check my phone. I think we're Canadian dollars, almost about 130 Canadian. For those who aren't aware, just sharing my screen quickly here. Jobtable is the first construction company in the world to accept Bitcoin payments. We announced this earlier this year. So, I want to bring this up because, this is Bitcoin has been in the news a lot lately. And if you haven't dove down the rabbit hole of Bitcoin, whoever listening, I think this is something that every single person needs to be aware of and start learning about it because it's not going anywhere. So, yeah, little plug for Bitcoin here.
And don't think you know everything about Bitcoin just because you might hear this and say, oh, I've heard about Bitcoin. It's, just really dive into it. Like Kosta said, learn about it because I guarantee you're going to find out things that you could have never imagined. And, the more you research, the more your perspective will change on it.
Yeah, it'll take you places you wouldn't have even imagined it would have taken you. So, yeah,
Yeah, what
do,
what
do your
what was
homework.
that? What was that announcement this week? Like I know we were, I want to say earlier to the game than a lot of people. Let's be upfront, right? Like we just said, like let's be self-critical of all of us, right? Like you know, we all had some doubts at the beginning, right? And this is, before it was on the news, before the rise in 2017, like we were earlier to the game, right? And all I can say is like, what was that announcement this week that it's the ninth biggest asset in the world now? It surpassed silver, right? It's unfortunate. I've been there myself, and not on Bitcoin, but on other topics. But you know, it, everybody wants to jump on, right, when it's already like reached its peak or its limits. So yes, we did decide to accept Bitcoin earlier this year because again, it's all about evolving, right? It's all about evolving. It's all about, doing better, right? Growing, right? So definitely to anybody listening, if you know a little bit about Bitcoin, you know a lot, you know nothing, do your research. It's, you know, again, it's the ninth biggest asset in the world for a reason.
Yeah, there you go. All right, boys, this was fun. Let's wrap it up there. Yeah, we're gonna do this every week. I hope whoever listening enjoyed it, got some value, and if you have any topic suggestions, let us know, and we'll talk soon, boys.
Thank you.
Bye,
Take
guys.
care, boys.
Peace.